In the spring of 2009, the Dutch sculptor Ruud Kujer was given a special commission to design a monumental sculpture for Melbourne Harbour. Ruud Kujer is internationally known thanks to his large concrete sculptures that can rise more than 10 metres high. They are statues with abstract forms and impressions of industrial appliances. After preparations lasting an average of 7 months, he has his statues cast in concrete in one piece.
For
me, concrete is important because it dominates the whole world. There are highways and viaducts and multi-storey car parks and even houses. So concrete as a material is widely available. Its presence is very dominant, and as a sculptor, I think it's a challenge to use it.
Ruud Kujer originally started using metal and wood and used concrete to connect them. But in the last 10 years, he has primarily made sculptures using only concrete.
The beautiful thing about concrete is that it expresses everything. So if you introduce things into the boxing, rough wood or ripples or various materials, the effect of the skin provides a rich visual experience when you walk around it. It makes you think the surface has a very different structure or texture on the other side. And that's the visual surprise I'm looking for.
Ruud Kujer made a special work for Royal Boskalis Westminster, the world market leader in the field of dredging. It's in front of the company's headquarters in Papendrecht, Holland. In 2009, Boskalis completed a major project in Australia to deepen Melbourne Harbour. The special cooperation during this channel deepening project with the Port of Melbourne prompted Boskalis to ask Kujer to design and construct a statue for Melbourne Harbour.
I've just been in Australia. There I saw yellow buoys floating all over the harbour. Each buoy had a sensor to measure the clarity of the water. The dredger has a ripper drag head to nibble the sea floor. It is elongated with teeth that sucked up the stones. My work almost always includes recognizable forms. These are translated in an abstract way because I think it's important to make a well-formed abstract image, one with these references. At the same time, it has to be a sculpture with some sense of proportion. The harbour is very wide. There is a large control tower on one side and an educational centre on the other. That sculpture will have to stand out between them, so it needs to be 8 or 9 metres high.
Because he didn't have 7 months, but only 4 to make the sculpture, a contractor has been hired to produce the casing, and Ruud Kujer has made a model to scale, so the contractor can make the complex casing.
I just like this corner a little more rectangular. So this point I had put together and then come straight round to see you, you know. I wasn't too happy about it. You can see it if you look at that view, that it's tilting a little. That bit is a little too. It has to go back a bit. So this thing that was derived, it has to be here. So this is half a cylinder with this against it. And that is derived from the ripper head, that part. Here you see the heads and they go across the bottom like teeth. And there are plates in between. They press the stones back down again and scrape. I think it's about a foot of sandstone off the sea floor, that ripper drag head. So that part is made to scale here. So we have it 6 times. It doesn't fit even in this room.
To make large polyester forms that will also be part of the casing, Kujer cooperated with a company who specialise in making plastic forms.
This
This is a surfboard, and the surfboard is of course a form that refers to the water. It's a very fast form. It's also rather like a fish shape, and that is always a rewarding element, huh? Alongside geometric forms as a contrast.
After 3 weeks, the polyester forms and the other casing of the forms from the sculpture will be ready and can be given their definitive place in the final sculpture.
Ja? Ja. Vandaag is de grote vorm is daar neergezet, is een recht.
Today the large shape is put in place, and that's a rectangle. A piece has been removed in other forms, so that bisects it.
Het is ook een contrast.
It's also contrast form, remaining form, and that basically stands for the two parties that have completed a very large project in Melbourne, the channel deepening project in the harbour.
De verdieping van de haven. En die staan eigenlijk voor.
It basically stands for the Port of Melbourne and Royal Boscalis Westminster, who realised this project together.
Boscalis has never previously made such a large-scale sculpture directly relating to its international activities. It wants to express the special bond it has with its Australian client. The sculpture symbolises the cooperation between the Port of Melbourne Corporation and Royal Boscalis Westminster.
De constructeur die kwam met de opmerking, Ruud, die grote vorm die.
The constructor had some comments. Ruud, that large shape leading forward is only connected by the surfboard to another shape. He had a point, of course.
Het idee is nu om hier een extra vorm.
The idea now is to make an extra form as a link and to have that pipe carry on a little further. Then it will be supported, but will also maintain the kind of looseness I want.
Dat losse gevoel houden wat ik nastreef.
And that is of course a problem in the case of all my sculptures. The problem of gravity, the problem of construction, and artistic freedom. You have to bring these three things together.
The kind of concrete used is rapid hardening. It has to be poured quickly. In just a few hours, 7 cubic metres of concrete will be pumped into the casing. This is the most critical moment in producing the sculpture.
We gaan vandaag storten.
We're going to pour the concrete today, so concrete is going in. That is of course always an exciting moment. I'll be glad when it's over, because you don't know whether you have done enough. Of course, we've been working on this for a couple of weeks, and there's a lot of steel and wood to hold everything together. Now is the big day. The point is that with this concrete, and you have to keep reminding the carpenters of that because they're used to making foundations and things, that this is very different. This has a special composition without much gravel. It's a bit like yogurt. It's very liquid, and that means it's incredibly strong. The pressure is much greater than with normal concrete. The risk is that somewhere a hole emerges at a spot where you can't get to it. That there is a crack and suddenly 2 cubic metres floods the ground. I'll only be happy when it's finished.
The partners from Melbourne, on a working visit to the Netherlands, come and take a look at the gift as it takes shape.
That's the statue.
Yeah.
So that's one thing now to get it in Melbourne, huh? In one piece.
Fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, amazing structure.
It's amazing.
Nice thing.
Garrett, how are you?
Good to see you.
All going as expected?
Well, this morning I was a little nervous. I thought, well, you always think that you did not do enough. You always have the feeling, oh, an extra beam here or there, or. But on the other hand, at a certain moment, you know, you have to order the concrete and go.
Yeah. How much concrete is going into it, Ruud?
This has 7 cubic meter.
Okay.
So we're going to. I think we're not sure if we need it all, but that's what is calculated from the drawing.
When the concrete slowly starts to reach the upper rim, all the forms are filled, the casing is full, and the sculpture can be closed. Now, the work has stopped for 9 days, and we have to wait for the concrete to harden.
This, of course, is a very exciting moment. First, a lot of beams and things have to be removed, but it's always a sensation when you remove the boxing and see the white concrete. It smells. You can smell the fresh concrete, and it's completely white and virginal with a secure shape. If you see, all the bits are filled properly. That's always a special experience.
Heel bijzondere ervaring. Tussenruimtes zijn goed. Er zijn een aantal cirkels.
These spaces in between are good. Several circular fragments were left out and play a role, and they are in the right places and they contribute to the final contours of the sculpture. This work includes several familiar things, for instance the surfboard and the buoy. And I've put that buoy onto the large form of 8 meters. And in the drawings, if you're setting about common, then you think, well, that's nice, but it looks fantastic. The big form dances on the buoy, and the buoy has exactly the right size and varies in form depending on what's on top of it. So those are details that make me think, wow, that's good.
In the port of Rotterdam, the sculpture, which weighs 60,000 kilograms, is lifted into a container ship. It takes up as much space as 15 sea containers. The sculpture has a special name.
Dit beeld heet Alliantie. En die alliantie heeft
This sculpture is called Alliance, and that alliance refers to Boskalis and the Port of Melbourne, which have completed this major job in Melbourne.
Hoe dat in elkaar steekt.
I watched from close by as everything was put together, and it's very special how they tackled the problems involved.
Wat natuurlijk heel bijzonder is, ik bedoel, dit gaat naar Australië.
Of course, it's very special that it's going to Australia. I've never done anything there before. There are quite a few sculptures in America, in Germany and in the Netherlands in various collections, but this really is a long way away.
Ik ben ook wel benieuwd hoe het ontvangen wordt, weet je, of mensen.
I'm also very curious how it will be received, whether people make the link with the details I maintained, the references that are in it. It has to stand on its own 2 feet and lead its own life.
The ship will take the sculpture to its final destination in 6 weeks.